Hello, I'm Paul Ligda, and I've lived here in Vallejo since 1969. I came here as a young attorney. Most of my career has been in the legal field, and I'm still somewhat active, but mostly retired. Enjoyed living here. I love the city. I became involved in the Sister City Association primarily in 1993. At that time, my wife was the very active with the Vallejo Symphony Association. I don't know whether she was serving as president at that time or not, but she also played cello in the symphony for many years. It was the love of her life. In that year, our sister city of Akashi invited us to bring our symphony over to Akashi to play a concert. And my wife just became absolutely enamored with the idea and threw everything she had into making that come to pass. And so she invited me to come along, although I don't play any musical instrument at all. We went over there for that visit, and the reception we received was absolutely awesome. The orchestra did a wonderful symphony with the Choral Association from Akashi. It was a wonderful performance, packed the auditorium, and was written about by the local newspapers for days thereafter. The people that went over there to participate came away with memories they'll never forget, and I think we left an excellent impression with the citizens of Akashi, who we formed quite a bond with. Well, that got me hooked in the association, because the association was the organization that made all the arrangements that are possible to bring 80 people and their musical instruments over to Japan, play a concert, and come home. So I joined the board. I was invited to serve then, and since I've done most of the offices, and it's now currently my privilege to serve as president of the association for the current 2-year term. Over the years since 1993, it's been my privilege to visit 4 of our 6 sister cities. We have 6, the first of which was Trondheim in Norway, a city I have never been able to visit. Akashi in Japan is our second sister city, and that I visited 4 or 5 times, because that is our most active sister city in terms of sending people over here and inviting us to visit. La Spezia in Italy is, I think, our 3rd sister city. I visited there in 1996 and was hosted by one of their citizens who took my wife and my daughter and I and set us up in her little, her family had a vineyard, and in the vineyard they had this little home. And they turned the home over to us for 3 or 4 days, so we could go up the hill with their little tram, get off, walk in, and do our own cooking and visit the area. So La Spezia is kind of a favorite of mine because of the many memories that I've taken away from that. Then there's Chincheon, which is our most recent sister city in South Korea. We had the privilege of visiting there just last year. With the Kims, who are very active in maintaining that relationship with them. Mayor Davis went with us. We were privileged at the time to attend the inauguration of their new mayor, and so the 2 mayors met and formed some more bonds between Chincheon and Vallejo. Chincheon, incidentally, was so enamored with the concept of having a relationship with Vallejo that they actually named one of their streets Vallejo Street. So if you're ever in South Korea and drop by there, you can go over and see a city that's named after, a street that's named after the city. Bagamoyo in Tanzania is the 2nd sister city that I've missed. I haven't been there yet. It's a little remote and also a little expensive to get to. I do hope we're trying to put together a plan to get there in 2013, and if we can get enough enthusiasm, I'm sure we can pull that off. Our other sister city is Baguio on Luzon in the Philippines. a city I visited, my wife and I visited that several years ago, high up in the mountains, kind of a resort area for the elite in Manila because it's in a cool area and they can avoid the humid summer heat. So those are the 6 sister cities that we have. What's in it for Vallejo in having these sister cities? Why do we have it? Well, I think to understand that, I've signed on to the original concept by which the Sister City movement was founded. It was during the presidency of Eisenhower in the 50s. President Eisenhower, as you know, had served as Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Europe during World War II, was there to envision the horrible damage not only to the property, which is obvious and remained for years, scars on the whole continent of Europe, but also the tragedy of all the deaths and destruction of the families and the tearing up of the relationships. It was just sheer horror to see the aftermath of what had occurred in the, 6 years of that war in Europe. So he called together a conference during his presidency, and he signed to the conference, come up with a concept or an idea that would give ordinary folks, not the presidents, not the prime ministers, not the ambassadors, but ordinary folks in the country, to get to know ordinary folks in some other country, so that over a course of interchange and intercourse with them, they get to know each other, understand the culture, understand why they do, what they believe in and why they believe in it. And all of a sudden, someone you know nothing about or are apt to look at with some scorn becomes a friend, or at least someone you understand. And the more of those links that exist in a planet make it much less likely that in times of a misunderstanding or a dispute, you're going to resort to picking up a gun and shooting each other. Instead, you're going to say, well, I know the guy, he can't be that unreasonable, let's talk about it and let's resolve it if there's a dispute. And that concept, a broad concept, but a very realistic one in my opinion, formed the basis for forming relationships between cities, where someone like me, just an ordinary folk, can get to know someone, maybe another lawyer over in Kashi or in Trondheim or something like that, and we can get to talk and form a relationship and a bond of understanding that will make it less likely that we will have a misunderstanding that will end in any type of hostility. I believe in that. I think that's a wonderful concept. I think it's a wonderful idea. And I think enough people do, because we now have sister cities, I think, in over 10,000 areas in the world and in well over 100 countries. And I want to see it strengthened in Vallejo. I want to see it grow in Vallejo. And I want it to be an active organization that gives the opportunity of every citizen in Vallejo to form that type of relationship with people abroad. It will benefit them. It will benefit the friends that they make abroad, and it will benefit humanity generally. Now, what do we actually do? Well, we host people. We will open our homes to citizens who live in one of our sister cities. I've done that. My wife and I have done that half a dozen times at least. Bring them into our home for a period of time, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. Plan activities by which they can go out and meet people in Vallejo, experience the things we have in Vallejo. And the kids, of course, love Discovery Kingdom, which has been very good to us by providing passes for them from time to time so that they can go over there, enjoy the rides, and see the fun that kids their age in this country do for recreation, one of the things they do. We show them some of the historic sites. Of course, there's Mare Island here in Vallejo, but nearby, of course, we have the wonderful bridges that are world famous. We have San Francisco, which is a world famous city. We have the ferry that takes us between Vallejo and San Francisco, which I've never had a visitor who wasn't absolutely enthralled with taking that ferry ride. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing to expose those people to. I don't know how many friends I have, a dozen, maybe a couple dozen that I've made in doing these exchanges, primarily with Akashi, but I've also had friends from some of our other sister cities who have stayed in our home and shared our home and our company and given us the advantage of getting to know them better. And of course, we visit them. As I mentioned before, I visited 4 of the 6 sister cities, and I'm hoping to add the other 6 because I don't think anyone has ever visited all 6 of our sister cities, and I'd kind of like to be the first one if I could. Get 4 down, 2 to go. But when we visit, it's almost impossible to describe to someone who hasn't had the advantage of doing this the hospitality with which you're received. It is absolutely stunning. There's just a couple of examples. One year, my wife and I went to Japan, and we planned after we went to Japan, we were going to go to Australia and then come back. So our flight was going to be essentially San Francisco to Osaka to Sydney and home. Well, when we went to the airport in San Francisco, I went down and I exchanged $100 for yen just to have some money when I got to Japan to walk around with, tip people, whatever I needed it for. Well, we were there, we were hosted for, I think, 5 days, my recollection. And when I left, I was taken to the airport by my host. It drives some distance from Akashi up to the Osaka airport, half hour, 45 minutes. And he actually took it upon himself to get my luggage and everything all the way through to where he couldn't go any further. And I'm thinking to myself, if it were me here, I'd drop them off at the front. And they'd kind of be on their own to get through the airport, but not him. All the way through, paid all the tolls and everything. And I said to him, well, I don't need these yen anymore. We'll exchange it. So he went down and took the $100 in yen that I have and said, what do you want? I said, I want Australian dollars. And he got me 100 Australian dollars. So in all the time I was there, all I could spend was the difference in the currency between an Australian dollar and a US dollar, which was about 40 cents. These people will not allow you to buy anything. If you want it, it's yours. That's their nature, that's their culture. And it's almost, it can reach almost embarrassing proportions because on another visit, they took us to an art exhibit. It was a local artist, and it was on display in one of their museums. And I was looking around and I saw a painting that kind of caught my eye. And I was just looking at it and admiring it, and someone came up to me and said, you like that painting? And I said, yeah, I think the color's really good. And I think the balance is good, and it really is good. It's yours. And I got home a week later, about 3 weeks later, here it comes all crated. So you have to be careful what you admire there. You might get it. So those are a couple of the experiences that kind of stick out in my mind that can maybe get across to people who have not had the advantage of doing this, of just the joy and the camaraderie and the warmth with which you are received when you're over there. You literally feel like a king and are treated that way as well. I invite those of you who have just heard about the Sister City Association or have been considering it to join us. You certainly can take advantage of the next trip that we're going. We're always looking for people, and of course we're looking for homes to host people as well. And it's very difficult to push it off as unimportant because it is important. It's important that we help build world peace on our planet, even at a level where you're not an ambassador, you're not a president, you're not a prime minister, but you're just a friend and someone that wants to be friends with people abroad and enjoys the learning about new cultures and so forth. The dues we have are very, very reasonable. $10 for a student, $20 for an individual, $30 for a family, and $35 for a business. So it's very difficult to say, I can't afford it. You can afford it, and the return you get for your buck is incredible. It's what you make of it, and boy, you can certainly do a great deal with just the willingness to get to know someone else who you didn't know was your friend but is.